Hi, this is Steve in my workshop here in Bellevue. I'm doing a special video today relating to drill press operations on the vertical drill press on your Shopsmith. In doing the lessons for the self-study course, I discovered that we need to do a special discussion here on the lift assist. Some of you have the lift assist and some of you don't, and some of you may be considering getting the lift assist. And I want to talk a little bit about how that will impact some of your operations if you happen to get the lift assist. Now, currently, I've got here the Mark 7 and the Mark 4. The Mark 7 has the Power Pro headstock. The Mark 4 has the traditional headstock on it. And we're going to compare how those compare when you're doing those to vertical drill press, and also how the lift assist will help you or hinder some of your operations. So first of all, you can see here, I have here the Mark 7. I've got this set up for doing some bevel ripping operations. And right now I've got the carriage all the way at the far right and the motor adjusted so that you could do a bevel cut here with stock that's going to extend all the way down as far as to the floor if you need to. And you can do a depth of cut here on your bevel. Over on this side over here, let's see, that's one. That's going to get us about, I can get about 3.25 to 3.5 inches on my depth of cut here. So you're going to be able to do stock easily up to 3 inches if you're doing bevel cuts there with it in that configuration. Now, if you have the lift assist, that limits how far that the table and the motor can go to this end and reduces it by 2 3/4 inches. So we're going to move this back so you can see how that impacts that if you have the lift assist on there. So I'm going to retract the blade there and move the carriage back 2 3/4 inches. So there we've moved that back 2 3/4 inches. And I've centered my blade here. Yeah, that's centered. Okay, so now what happens, you can see my mount here keeps it from, I can't take that all the way down to that depth now. So what kind of depth can we do if we're doing there? Okay, right there. That's as deep as I can do right there. So that reduces my depth of cut now down to about just over 1.5 inches. So that's the maximum depth of cut you're going to do if you're doing bevel operations, if you have your lift assist on there. So there's some other operations that also get impacted by that. The next one is going to be your lathe operations, and I'm going to show you that how that's impacted here. Take off the blade here. Now I'm going to take this table, I'm going to move it over to my Mark IV. And now I'm going to set this like we would do lathe operations. Yeah, I'm putting on here my cup center on here. Now, if I'm here doing operations on the lathe, it's going to restrict again how far that this carriage can come this way by 2 3/4 inches. So in some of my setups, it may affect where you're going to be able to place this rest here. So you may, on some spindles, need to do the live center on here. So that's the other thing it's going to impact. And then the last thing is, if you have a clutter collector like I have underneath here, if you have the lift assist on, it may affect whether you're going to be able to have a clutter collector on there. Now, especially if you have storage underneath your unit, you're not going to be able to have that under there anymore if you have the lift assist on there. Okay, so now let's talk about some differences in raising it up into vertical position. We're going to drill press. So I'm going to take off these lathe tools here. So when we have the table on here, I'm going to put it up in a vertical drill press position. We can adjust where that table is going to sit in relation to our body, depending on where we put the motor and where we put the table. So ideally, you want to have, when you're doing drill press operations, you want to have the table at about mid-chest level. That's about right here. And for the Mark 7 and the Mark 520, you can set that at mid-chest level for a person who has a height of anywhere from 4 feet 7 inches up to 6 feet 2 inches. Now, depending on your height, that's going to affect how easy it is to raise this up into vertical position if you do not have the lift assist. So let's look at some different configurations and see how that's affected. So let's go over here to the Mark IV for a second. And on that, I've got the motor here all the way up to the far left end as far as it can go to see what happens in that case. So in that situation, here we're going to put our chuck on here so we can set where we want our table to be. And if you just kind of pick up and actually move the camera over here so you can get a better view of what I'm doing here. So here I'm putting the drill chuck on. Now I want my tip of my bit to be about 2 3/4 to 3 inches away from the table. And right now that is about 2 3/4 right there is where that's at. So that would be, so this is the tallest person that I could have the Mark IV would be with it set here. And let's see where that would be. Now, to lift this up like this, if you do not have the lift assist, you're having to lift the entire weight of this conventional headstock yourself, which at age 73, I can do, but it's not a pleasant task. But I'm going to go ahead and do it. So when I lift this up, I want to have as much leverage as I can. So I'm going to stand out here. I'm going to hold my hands right here on the power mount. And I want to lift it all in one action. I don't want to stop. I want to lift it up and walk around here while I do it. Okay, and I'm going to do that right now. But before I do that, I want to make sure that the machine is firmly on the floor. The wheels are up. I want that firmly on the floor. Make sure that this motor lock is locked and that this the carriage lock is locked here. And I also want to make sure that this locking screw over here, when we get vertical, that's loosened. All right, so we're getting ready. We're going to go ahead and do this now. So I'm going to lift right here and go up in one action, right there. And now I'm going to tighten my knob here, wiggle this. Okay, so there we are. Okay, so there we are. Okay, let's see where we're at now. Right here, the table is, that's about 35 inches off the floor, okay, which will be at chest level for someone. Let me just double check here. Somebody that's 4 feet 9 inches, that's going to be at chest level for somebody that's 4 feet 9 inches. So and I only have about 2 inches further that I can drop this table, okay? So for the Mark IV, it's going to be at chest level for someone between 4'7" and 4'9", and that's it. And anyone taller than that, it's not going to be at chest level. It's going to be down anywhere, some downward here on the Mark IV. So now let's compare this to doing on the Mark VII or who are on the 520. Now I'll just tell you right now that if this motor on your Mark IV, if you have put on the Power Pro instead of the conventional headstock, you're probably not going to be able to be strong enough to lift that up on your own unless you're pretty young, like in your 20s. In that case, you're going to want to have someone else to help you, and we're going to show you that right now. If you have to have a helper, and my helper is going to come over here so you can see this. So if you have to have a helper, you want to have one on each side. One of you will grab the power mount there, the other will grab the power mount here, and we'll just pick it up all in one motion like this. So if you have the Power Pro on the Mark IV and don't have the lift assist, I recommend you have a helper help you on that. Okay, thank you. Now let's go back over here to the Mark VII. On the Mark VII now, let's show setting up some vertical drill press on that. And I'm going to move the table back over to here. Okay. I'm going to loosen up this stock collar here. Okay, so now let's start with somebody of my height. I'm 5 feet 10 inches tall. So if somebody that's 10 inches tall, I need this motor to be, and there's a chart in the lesson for setting up the drill press mode that has where to position this. But for somebody that is 6 feet 2, you would have this motor mounted all the way to this end. And again, if you're 6 feet 2 and have the Power Pro down at this end, you're probably, in fact, I really recommend you have a helper help you put this into vertical drill press position if you're 6 feet 2. Now, I'm 5 foot 10, which is 4 inches shorter, so I would have my Power Pro 4 inches down this way. So I'm going to put that right there. That's about 4 inches. I'm going to tighten my motor right there. And again, we'll just move our drill chuck over to there. And then we'll position our table. And I want that to be, you don't need to get a close-up on this one because you just saw the process on the other one. That's 2 3/4, about right there. Okay, so there's my position for my table here, making sure that my trunnion lock, my carriage lock, my table height lock, my motor lock, nothing's on my spindles there, and that my wheels are up firmly on the ground. So at this point, if you do not have someone to help you on your raising it, you're probably going to want to have the lift assist if you're of my height. So if you don't have the lift assist, which I don't, then of course I'm going to have a helper, and she's going to come over, help me lift this up right now. Of course, I've loosened up the locking knob here on the power mount, and we're ready to lift this up now. And even with 2 of us, I can feel that's a substantial effort. Now I'm going to tighten this in here. We're going to kind of rock that, get that in position there. Now you can see here, this is for me, right there at mid-chest is where that is. So let's see what height people this might be comfortable to do with the Power Pro and not have a lift assist. Let's see where that might be. So now we're going to lower this back down again, and we're going to adjust where the motor is and the table again. Okay, so let's slide the motor down. So I'm going to come down to about, because I've done this numerous times, I'm going to put it at 12 inches, the motor 12 inches down here. So at 12 inches, which is going to be someone who is about 5'2". Someone who is 5'2" would have it at that position there. And let's position our table. Let's set that at about 2 3/4. Okay, right there. So someone 5'2" would have it set here. And at this point, when you go to lift the machine, you've got a bit more leverage. You're not lifting up the entire weight of the Power Pro motor at this point, and you're not lifting the entire 78 pounds. A lot more of the weight is being supported down at this end when you pick it up. So at this point, I can lift this up like this by myself. So there we are. So this would be a chest height for someone who's 5'2". So what I would say that if you are 5'2" or shorter, 4'7" to 5'2", you can set this into vertical drill press mode with the Mark 7 by yourself, assuming that you don't have any shoulder issues, rotator cuff issues, or any other type of physical impairments, and you've got the strength to do that. If you just don't have the strength to do that, then you probably want to get the lift assist. Now, I'm 73. I've deliberately avoided getting the lift assist because that forces me to stay in physical shape, because I want to be able to keep doing things physically active at my age. But it's up to you. Hopefully this gives you some guidelines. You can make that decision for yourself. I think we're going to wrap this up here, and hopefully this has been helpful to you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.